It's tough to let businesses go. It's tough to shut them down. It's tough to let them fail. It's tough to stomach letting any of our plans fail. But welcome to the Spinoso podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso. My experience and expertise is in scaling all types of medical businesses to 7, 8, and 9 figures. And I'm sharing my journey to having multiple 8-figure companies and someday, hopefully, enjoying a 9-figure exit. This isn't a podcast telling you you should do this. I'm just telling you how I did this, and I hope that helps you. I want to help you build your business, take ownership of your life, and become a better leader at home and at work. And guys, I'd love to connect with you, especially if you're a medical entrepreneur. I have free courses available to help you scale your medical business. Check those out at dralexspinoso.com/courses. That is dralexspinoso.com/courses. I also invite you to connect with me on Instagram at Dr. Alex Spinoso, LinkedIn at the same, and every other platform, YouTube, etc. I am always Dr. Alex Spinoso. Thanks for listening. All right, guys, I'm excited about my topic today because I know there is someone out there, some hardworking entrepreneur who has built a real business, maybe 7 real businesses, and they're at a crossroads, a very painful crossroads. Maybe that's you. You have to make a tough decision. And it's tough because it goes against every fiber of your being. It goes against the kind of person you want to be. It's a decision you have to make that is just killing you. You're in a situation like the one a friend of mine told me about. One of his clients is a successful entrepreneur. He's built 7 real-world businesses. Each of them has generated at least 7 figures a year in profit. Well, last year, he bought an electrical business. He's had experience starting and scaling similar businesses, but shortly after buying this one, he discovered that the sellers weren't forthcoming about some things. The financial data was fraudulent, and he also realized that the personnel issues were bad, like really bad. The guy is driven by core values, just like me, and he realized he made a big mistake. He bought a company full of people who didn't share his core values. He bought a company full of people who were not remotely mission fit. So what's he going to do? Well, this guy is a good dude. He has integrity. He is an absolute beast of a hard worker. He has a great reputation in his industry, but he fucked up. He knows he fucked up. He didn't do as much due diligence as maybe he should have. His logic tells him, shut the company down because it's hemorrhaging money, costing him hundreds of thousands every single month. The more he dives into the company culture, the more he realizes it is an absolute shit show. And everything inside him says, I want to fix this. I made the mistake. Now I got to make it right. He wants to own his mistake. He wants to take responsibility. Even if there are only 2 good and decent employees, he wants to do right by them. But it's a crazy situation. What should he do? Keep working at it? Sue the sellers? Refuse to accept defeat? I get it. I have faced this exact kind of decision. I've had clinics just not performing no matter what I did. I had business situations that were so systematically fucked up that it would take divine intervention to fix it. So what do? Well, in many cases, you let the Holy Grail go. You guys ever seen Indiana Jones and the Search for the Holy Grail? It's the 3rd movie in the Indiana Jones franchise, and it's badass. The premise of the movie is that the Nazis have found a map to the Holy Grail, the cup that Jesus drank from during the Last Supper. They think if they find the Holy Grail and drink out of it, they're going to become immortal, a god, just like Jesus. Having an army of Nazis that was immortal would be a problem, right? So Indiana Jones and his dad, Dr. Henry Jones, band together to find the Grail before the Nazis do. But there's bad blood between them. Basically, the dad was an absentee father and his son absolutely resents him for it. Throughout the movie, they're arguing and at each other's throats the entire freaking time. But then, towards the end of the movie, there's this scene where the Nazis and the Joneses and everyone are in a big cave where the Holy Grail is located. They encounter an ancient knight who tells them that if they take the Grail out of the cave, there's a curse. Well, one of the Nazis, a woman, tries to do it. A big earthquake happens and she falls into an abyss to her death. The reason she dies is that she could have let herself be pulled up, but instead she is obsessed with the Grail and doesn't let it go. The Grail is precariously balanced on a ledge, ready to drop into the abyss, and instead of getting to safety, she stupidly reaches out for it even though there was no chance of grabbing it. And like I said, she falls to her death. As she falls, Indiana Jones starts to fall too, but at the last minute, his dad grabs his arm. Then he sees the Grail about to fall into the abyss, and he reaches for it. His dad yells at him, Junior, I can't hold you. Junior, please. And then all of a sudden, everything gets silent, and Dr. Henry Jones looks at his son and says, Indiana. Indiana Jones looks back at his dad, and the elder Dr. Jones says, Indiana, son, let it go. And that's when Indiana Jones takes his dad's hand and his dad pulls him up. The Grail falls into the abyss, but Indiana was saved. They all escape, and the Nazis are defeated. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're like this dude I was telling you about just a minute ago, hear these words. Son, let it go. It's tough, especially if you are an overachiever, especially if you have integrity. It's tough to let businesses go. It's tough to shut them down. It's tough to let them fail. It's tough to stomach letting any of our plans fail, but sometimes it just makes sense. What you'll find out is that it very often makes good business sense. I've talked about this before, but more than once in my business life, I have had to downsize. I've had to step back. I've had to shut some clinics down. I've had to take some losses, but inevitably, the step back was a step forward. Consolidating and focusing my efforts led to greater growth and greater success. And if I'm honest, like I hope you are honest with yourself, my hesitation to take that L was pride. It was all about my ego. It wasn't based on reason and wasn't based on the kind of logic and action that leads to success in business. So, again, I don't know who needs to hear this. I don't know exactly what situation you are in, but if you're reaching out for a holy grail, if the ground is coming apart under your feet, if you have a chance to get to safety and live to fight another day, then take seriously the words of Dr. Henry Jones. Indiana, son, let it go.